In the quiet fields of Nebraska, where cornfields stretch endlessly and the nights are filled with stars, lived a 17-year-old girl named Sarah Whitmore. She wasn't like the other teens in her rural town. While others dreamed of farming legacies or small-town jobs, Sarah looked up at the stars and dreamed of space. Ever since she was little, Sarah had a fascination with the night sky. Her father, a kind farmer who passed away when she was 12, would often point to the constellations and tell her, "Someday you'll fly up there, sweetheart." That dream stayed with her. Every night she'd lie on the barn roof, gazing at the constellations with her homemade telescope made from a pair of binoculars and PVC pipe. She had one goal: to become a NASA aerospace engineer, and for that she worked harder than anyone in her high school. She aced every math and physics test, led the science club, and even submitted a paper to a national robotics contest, where she placed in the top 10. All of this, she believed, would be enough to get her into Harrison Institute of Technology, one of the top aerospace colleges in the US. The day the admission decisions were released, Sarah sat alone on the front porch with her old laptop and shaky Wi-Fi. Her heart pounded as she opened the email from Harrison. "Thank you for applying. We regret to inform you that—" The words blurred through her tears. She stared at the screen, frozen, the wind carrying away the breath she didn't realize she was holding. Rejected. And not just by Harrison. Within a week, rejection letters from every major school came in. MIT, Caltech, even the state university. Some politely suggested she lacked the advanced extracurricular background. Others didn't even offer a reason. Her mother, seeing her crushed spirit, tried to comfort her. "They don't see what I see in you, but maybe it's time to think practical, honey." But Sarah couldn't accept that. Practical wasn't her dream. Space was. To make matters worse, students in town mocked her ambition. "You really thought you'd go from milking cows to flying rockets?" one classmate sneered. The humiliation only fueled her determination. If they wouldn't give her a chance, she'd build her own. Late that night, Sarah wiped her tears and opened her notebook filled with diagrams, formulas, and scribbled ideas. She circled one plan in red ink. DIY rocket project, Operation Prove Them Wrong. And so, without a lab, without money, and without formal approval, Sarah got to work. Days turned into weeks. Sarah transformed their dusty old barn into a makeshift lab. Using scraps from junkyards, old car parts, plumbing supplies, and YouTube tutorials, she began building her DIY rocket. Her mum thought it was just a phase. But when she walked in one morning and saw Sarah soldering circuits by candlelight, she knew this was serious. Despite having no official training, Sarah taught herself everything: aerodynamics, thrust equations, guidance systems, even basic coding for flight simulation. She sold her guitar and part-time waitressing tips to buy a used 3D printer. Every spare moment was dedicated to calculations, models, and small test firings in the backyard. People in town laughed at her. "That girl's lost it," they'd whisper, trying to be Elon Musk in a cornfield. But Sarah kept going. She documented everything on a small blog she named Stars from Soil. It barely got views, until one night, when she posted a video of a successful mini-rocket test, with it reaching almost 700 feet. The clip went viral overnight. By morning, it had been shared by several STEM influencers. Engineers, teachers, and students all over the world praised her. Some even offered help. But Sarah declined. She wanted to finish this on her own terms. Then came launch day. She had named her full-scale prototype Phoenix 1, after the mythical bird that rises from ashes. A simple, elegant 8-foot-tall rocket painted with leftover tractor paint, standing in the middle of her backyard with farm animals watching nearby. The launch was live-streamed on her blog and social media. A few friends came to watch. Her mum stood beside her, holding back tears. 3, 2, 1. Whoosh! The rocket soared. higher than anyone expected, over 4,000 feet into the air. The crowd gasped. It deployed a small parachute, landed safely. A perfect amateur launch. Sarah stood speechless, overcome by the roar of claps and cheers. Moments later, her phone buzzed. A message. "This is Dr. Amelia Brooks from NASA. We just watched your launch. Can we talk?" Sarah's knees went weak. Within 48 hours, Sarah was flown to NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in California. There, she presented her design, process, and how she reverse-engineered everything with nothing but household tools and online guides. The senior team was stunned. A few weeks later, she received an offer, an internship, full scholarship, and mentorship under NASA's propulsion division. She didn't just get into college. She bypassed it entirely. Back in her barn, the same place where her dream had once been crushed, Sarah stood with a suitcase, ready for a future she built with her own hands. She looked up at the stars, whispering, "I'm coming, Dad, just like you said I would." The halls of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory were a world away from the dusty farmlands of Iowa. Sarah walked them wide-eyed, a backpack over her shoulders, and a notepad filled with equations. She wasn't just a visitor. She was now a team member. But even as she sat through briefings, attended lectures by PhDs, and participated in simulations, she never let go of her roots. She spoke up with ideas that others overlooked. One day, while reviewing a stalled mini-satellite project, Sarah quietly asked, "What if we use magnetic propulsion instead of chemical thrusters for this altitude?" Silence, then stunned nods. Her insight led to a breakthrough in low-orbit deployment systems. Sarah was soon transferred to a fast-track innovations team where she worked alongside seasoned scientists and sometimes outpaced them. News began to spread. A major science magazine published an article. "Barn-built rocket leads girl from farm to NASA. Meet Sarah Miller, the future of spaceflight." She started receiving interview requests, TV appearances, and even a letter of apology from the elite college that had once rejected her. But Sarah stayed grounded. One weekend she returned to her farm. Her mother met her at the old screen door, eyes misty. "You proved them all wrong," she whispered. That evening, Sarah walked to her barn, the place that started it all. She placed a framed photo of her father on the shelf beside her prototype. "I did it, Dad," she said, her voice trembling. "I really did." But the story wasn't over. 1 year later, NASA launched a small satellite developed under her leadership called FarmStar-1. It was designed to provide real-time weather updates for rural communities, helping farmers optimize harvests and protect crops. At the launch event, Sarah stood on stage with a mic. She looked at the crowd and said, "Now I was told I wasn't good enough, that I didn't belong in elite rooms because I grew up in muddy boots instead of polished shoes. But dreams don't care where you're from. They only care how far you're willing to chase them." The crowd erupted in applause. But perhaps the most emotional moment came days later, when a group of young girls from her hometown school sent her a handwritten letter. "Because of you, we believe we can be scientists too." Sarah smiled, holding back tears. From being rejected by a college to changing the way satellites were built, she had done more than succeed. She had inspired a generation. She wasn't just a farm girl anymore. She was a rocket scientist, a dreamer, a pioneer, and her journey was only beginning.